So here we are, book review 1, my new channel. And the intention behind this is to read a book, to implement the knowledge, perform the actions that are in the book, and then to sort of summarize what came out of that. It's very easy to read a book and not actually do anything with it. So the first book that I've got is Dopamine Detox. I won't even try to pronounce the author's name because I know that I would butcher it. And this is book 1 in a series of 4. And they walk you through a process of just clearing the mind and your busy schedule and moving along to gaining clarity, putting into action some things and looking at from a strategic view. But if we start off with book 1. So what's it about? So the book explains what dopamine is. And for me, there was a key sentence in the book that just blew my mind and completely changed my viewpoint and my outlook on it, is that dopamine is when you are overly stimulated. I always thought about, I was on social media, scrolling through Instagram, looking at TikTok, watching Facebook, watching YouTube, and scanning through Facebook because I was bored. Not that I had so much information in front of me that it was becoming overwhelming. So it talks about the benefits of a detox. What happens when you move away from things like that, and what are the outcomes to your life? Obviously, it's quite easy just to think about, if I didn't scroll, for 4 hours a day on social media, I'd have 4 hours. But it's easy to say, but it's very difficult to do. So the book teaches you, some tools and techniques to follow in order to make that happen. And at the end of each chapter, there's some action points for you to commit to, so that you're actually working through the book rather than just reading it as some sort of theoretical book that you read, you put down, you think about, but don't actually do anything with. So my detox that I went through was to create some barriers between myself and social media. I use my phone way too much. That's all comparative to yourself and what you do. But for me personally, I would sit there of an evening just clicking on stuff, not actually doing anything with it, not actually reading, but it just became habitual and something for my hands and fingers to do. So the things that I committed to was that I deleted all of my social media apps. This didn't mean that I came off social media. It just meant that the apps weren't on my phone, so that I wasn't actually able to just click a button and be there. So what happened when I did this is that I became agitated. So for the first few hours, everything was fine. And what would happen in the past is that I would say to myself, I've managed for about a few hours, let's download them because I've shown myself that I can keep away from it. But the idea of the book was that you do a detox for 48 hours. So after the first 24, I was sitting there, my hands, my fingers were sort of, looking for something to do. I was sort of shaking slightly and struggling to actually, do anything because I was sort of having these withdrawal symptoms of detoxing, and it was quite a powerful thing to go through. In the book, there are some coping strategies that it asks you to pick. Now, as I went through it, I didn't actually pick one at the time because I didn't think any of them actually suited me. But sitting there, it forced me to practice being mindful and mindfulness, observing what was happening and the reasons behind it, but also not feeling guilty about how I was reacting and the thoughts and feelings I was having. It's led to significant improvements and changes in my productivity. All of this free time that I now have, I'm now using to do other things, such as recording YouTube videos. I've written a book in that time. I've created a number of planners and workbooks to support, the business that I want to start building. And all of this has been done in the time that I would have previously been sitting there scrolling. So, it's just unbelievable, the change in me and the change that it's caused to sort of, what I'm actually doing with myself. So straight away, the answer to this for me personally is yes, it was worthwhile. If you look at reviews of the book, a lot of them talk about the lack of scientific research, but that's very clear with, any self-development book, is that you've got the academic side of psychology, neuroscience, that is very much based on, proven statistical basis results, whereas self-help is all about, does it work for you? What are your personal successes from it? And it's about your own personal experience rather than it being something that can be proved. It's about the thoughts, the feelings you have and what you get out of it. So for me, this behaviour's continued. I still don't have the apps on my phone. And if I want to go, and see what's happening in the world of Facebook, Instagram, I'm now in control, and that's my decision. I now have to actively download the app, log in, and seek out that information rather than it being there. What I've noticed is that, after 3 days, if I then choose to go back into the app, nothing's actually happened that would have changed my world or had any influence over me. So previously, I was hooked. I was trying to see I was seeing what people were doing with their lives, but not seeing that hasn't affected me at all. It hasn't changed what I'm doing. It hasn't changed my interactions with friends, people that I know, I speak to. What it's done is put me, I believe, in a far healthier mindset and has given me control over what I choose to look at and when I want to look at it. So for me, the book's been brilliant. I have read some of the others in the series, but I will continue to implement what I've learned from this book and look at other areas of my life where I may need to, do some sort of detoxing because those sort of things aren't serving me well. So thanks for listening, and I hope to make this a regular thing because it will push me to read more, but not just read. It will push me to think more about what I've read.